Hello. What's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here, and this is, we'll call it the Doug.Show Live. I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but it's my weekly live stream here. Welcome. Let me know if you could hear me in the chat. I see we have some of the usual suspects here. Daniel, Steve. Steve, I don't recognize your name specifically, but that doesn't mean you're not a suspect. And let me know where you're from, if you've joined these before, and yeah, we'll get into it today. I don't have a specific topic, but that's all right. I can tell you what I've been up to. I can answer questions. I can riff on things. I'll, yeah, just see what's going on with everybody else. And I do have, this was sent to me. I get emails occasionally, and I don't usually endorse stuff. And I think technically I could be an affiliate, but I'm not yet. This company, Magic Mind, I take nootropics occasionally. This company, Magic Mind, contacted me, and they were like, hey, if you want to check it out, that's cool. They actually wanted to like do some ads and stuff, but I'm like, I'm really busy. I don't know. And I was just like, maybe check in with me later when I have some more time, which is kind of a typical answer for me when I get contacted. Sometimes it's like a reasonable thing, and it's actually like on brand, makes sense, potentially a company I could work with or would, want to, hear more about. But most of the time I just blow people off, and it's like, I'm not interested. It's like 90% of the time. And this one's pretty good though. So they actually sent me some stuff, and they were like, hey, we want you to check it out. It has matcha, adaptogens, nootropics, and honey, but not too much, because I try not to get too much sugar with just like artificially added stuff. So it's only 2 grams of added sugar. But anyway, I'm going to drink it now. I think technically I should have had it like 30 minutes before. But I was at the gym, and it tastes, it's a little acidic, a little vinegary. Not vinegary, it's a little acidic. It has like a sharp flavor. It tastes healthy-ish. And it's green, I think, from the matcha. I don't know what else is in there. It says shake, breathe, and drink. And hopefully it'll kick in at least for the tail end of this. So let me, bottoms up. Cheers, everybody. Yeah, it's not bad. And we'll put that aside. And we have, I'll say, Shiranjeevi. What's up? Thanks for joining from India. And Josie, good to see you. What's up? Aisha from Pakistan. All right. And let's see. Josie wants some of the Magic Mind. Misty Sunday is on. And David's back on. I haven't seen him in a little bit. He's one of our fine moderators. It's been pretty cool. There hasn't been a strong need for moderators in the last little bit, for several months or so, knock on wood. It also means there's not as many randos coming in, which is actually better, but there's fewer people like joining, which is okay. It makes it more manageable and all that stuff. So let's see here. Misty Sunday, blah, blah, blah. And, Josie says, likewise. Yeah, it was good. I met Josie. So I'll tell a little story, because we'll have to buy some time. If there are questions out there, feel free to ask. This is one of those days where I don't have a specific topic, a specific tutorial, or anything to go over, but we'll still chat. And I could apparently talk ad nauseum. You may notice my voice is a little scratchy. That is actually much better. It's much, much better. When I met Josie, I think the very first time, I had a normal voice. And then after a couple of days of staying up too late, drinking, and then we were in a noisy environment. So I spent most of the evenings drinking whiskey and like yelling in someone's ear, hoping that they could hear me. So I pretty much lost my voice, or I sounded awful. So I've rested my voice for a couple days. It's a little bit better. I need a few more days. Fortunately, no COVID. So I didn't test right away, but I tested yesterday just to be safe. A couple people that I were around actually did get COVID. She's not feeling super well, but I wasn't around her a ton, but I was around other people that she was around. Anyway, you know how pandemics go. So, all right. So basically, I was at a conference, which I'll give you some highlights and stuff like that. And I am noting questions here. So Steve, I see you asked a question about the specific outreach. Maybe it's a good tactic. So I will come back to that. Great question. And then let's see. Oh, Dealip is here. And Misty says, what's your secret of being fresh every time? All right, and Josie has a note about pingbacks. That's awesome. Jonathan is here, and Gaming Supermart. So cool. Good to see everyone. As far as being fresh, I'm assuming you're talking about, I just look sharp and good here. I'll assume it's a compliment. If I don't quite understand, then I always assume something's a compliment. So funny thing, I got back from the gym like 7 minutes before we went live. Is kind of why I'm late. I had a quick protein shake, and then came down here. I got some water here. I don't like to throw out the glass bottles, even if they recycle them or whatever. It's so useful. So I do try to keep the whiskey bottles specifically just to put water in. And when I have people over, it usually draws some questions. They're like, it looks like whiskey. Am I supposed to drink this for breakfast? And it's totally up to them if they want to. But I do have these new mugs here. It's the Mile High Fi, which some people have asked about. I think you could technically get a t-shirt, Mile High Fi. So it's milehighfi.com/store. And it goes to support the other podcast. We actually don't monetize at all, but we have, these cups here. And I have one and a few t-shirts. But yeah, if you head over there, you can check it out for sure. All right. And Josie says, no symptoms, but you got COVID a few weeks before, so you have the antibodies. Great. That's one of the best. I don't even think we're supposed to say anything about it. Everything here is for entertainment. I'm not a professional anything. I have no medical training, and it's not financial advice or legal advice. Consult your professionals. All right. Aisha says, can we use Ezoic, Google AdSense, and Amazon affiliate on your affiliate site? So you can use, yes, you can. The best way to do it is use Ezoic, and then have, I think they call it like mediation, and then Google like AdSense has the ability to bid on the spaces on your site, and then you would have the ability to take advantage of AdSense and Ezoic. Amazon affiliate is fine. All right. And Couch is on. What's up? And blah, blah, blah. Okay. And someone asked about niche validation. I am marking all these. An Alchemist Handbook from Atlanta. I'm from the Atlanta area, Lawrenceville originally, and I lived all around town. I went to Georgia Tech, lived in Midtown and Edgewood, and then Dunwoody for a bit, and probably a couple other places along the way. All right, yeah, I'm noting some questions here, so that'll be great. Couple quick shout outs before I start telling stories. And thanks everyone for hopping on here. We have 25 people. I think I'm one of them. If you could hit the thumbs up, that's great if you have the ability to do it. And a couple quick announcements. If you like these live streams, you don't have to commit right away, but if you like these live streams, you can sign up for the email list notification for these live streams. So there's a link. It's the second one in there. YouTube notifications. The thing is YouTube is not great at providing notifications. Sometimes they do it late. Sometimes they don't do it at all. And if you really want to know, you don't want to rely on YouTube's algorithm to tell you when to notify you, then you can subscribe to the channel for sure. That is helpful, but you could sign up for the email list, however you want to manage it. I typically do these on Tuesdays at 11:30 Mountain Time. occasionally I am out of town or something, like last week, and I don't do it. So the other thing is Odys Global. That's ODYS.global, the source for premium age domains. And I'll run a short spot for them in a few minutes to give my voice a rest. And finally, we have Ezoic. Ezoic Leap is a great way to speed up your site, get green in Core Web Vitals. And the cool thing is Ezoic doesn't have any traffic minimum. So even if your site's brand new, you can start the process of integrating with Ezoic, start using tools like Leap and some of their other, suite of products. One of is big data analytics, which I reference often for interviews. Quick shout out. Also, if you have a success story, I don't mention this at the top, but I interview people. The last couple podcasts and YouTube videos that I published were success stories from the audience, just like you. So Cody, that interview went live yesterday. It's doing really well. Would love it if you'd left a comment on that one or check it out if you have not. And then I talked to Forrest on Thursday. So those two awesome episodes and success stories in the last couple months. Like they're active. There's some questions about, hey, can you even do this right now? Can you start a website in 2022? Will it actually work? And the answer is yes. So if you check out those interviews with those guys, then you'll hear these very fresh, recent success stories. So if you have one, if you're in the middle of it, if you're early on, even just making a few $100s per month up to maybe $1,500, $2,000 or so, kind of on the early side, that's great. That's what people can really relate to. Now, I love the big stories, the big headlines as well, but I like to show pieces along the way. So hopefully Josie will actually hop on with me before too long here. Shoot me an email, Josie. I don't think I have your email address or phone number, because you have some pictures, right? You have some pictures that you should send me. Okay, cool. All right. So those are a couple announcements. There's links in the description here, so you can check that out and learn a little bit more. All right, cool. We're going to start hopping through some questions here. L Couch likes the Mile High Fi mug. Fantastic. Aisha's asking about plugins. All right. John has a great question about visitors and articles and the average number, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. And he doesn't like the love streams. He doesn't like the live streams. He loves them. All right. Yeah, great questions. These are awesome questions. All right, so I'm going to blast through these. Jonathan likes the interview with Cody. John says Cody is smashing it. Love the interview. Awesome. Very cool. And fantastic. All right. We're going to hop back and I'll start answering questions because there are so many here. This is great. Other quick note, if you do like the live streams, doing another one tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So it's a little early for me. I actually have to make sure I'm up at a certain time so I could walk Georgie at a certain time. And I wake up pretty early anyway, so it's not an issue, but I can't mess around too much in the morning. I have to get to it. Okay, let's get to some of these questions here. Very good questions. Keep them rolling. And I'll try to keep up in the chat here. So Steve says, what was it about the outreach that was a good tactic? So this is for Magic Mind, which is not a paid spot here, but they sent me a sample for free. So I have to disclose that. They sent me a sample. I think I even have to pay taxes on that, You got to declare that. So the reason why it worked is it was a good match. So most of the time I get an email and they just know I have a podcast or a YouTube channel. People filter in different ways. So I'll give an example of each one. For the podcast, I get more than one each day for each channel. So a typical pitch is, hey, I'm on this team, or I am a podcast outreach company, and there's this great entrepreneur. They have an 8-figure business. They've been doing X, Y, and Z. They have a book. They have a course. They've been on bigger podcasts over the past couple of years. They'd be a great fit, and they can talk about X, Y, and Z. Sometimes they're sort of long. Sometimes they're kind of short. Usually they're too long. Usually they're probably a page or so, and they try to give a lot of information. The reason I reply back with not interested. So at some point I got enough of these where I stopped being polite and started being real, which isn't that the tagline for for the real world? I remember that from, late 90s, early 2000s. The show's probably still on. I don't watch MTV anymore. So I stopped being polite and I started being real. So sometimes I just mark them as spam. Sometimes I'll just hit not interested, send it back. The big thing is it's just not a match. Like it's the wrong industry. They think just because there's a podcast out there, and I've talked to entrepreneurs, that I'll talk to any entrepreneur. Sometimes it's an okay match, but they are promoting a book or something like that, and I typically don't want to get on that train. So I have been struggling with it with Mile High Fi, because I do have a lot of friends that have written books, and they are trying to promote it. They're trying to do what they're supposed to, and podcasts are a great way to do it. The problem is they'll go on 20, 30 different podcasts, and they're talking about the same thing over and over again. And they're flooding the market to make a big impact. But from a podcast listening standpoint, I don't like listening to those. Sometimes it could be a good interview. Sometimes, if we don't talk about the book and it's a good interview, that's great. That's the greatest way to sell the book. But a lot of the authors are getting coaching from their publishers, or they have been coached if they are self-publishing it, to talk about the book and kind of pitch it. But as a podcast listener, I know that doesn't work that well. It depends if it's a big enough podcast. If there's hundreds of thousands of downloads per episode, then it may pay off. But if it's a small audience like mine is, then it's not going to work that well. Additionally, when I see a person is doing the rounds, I'll listen to maybe like one of the interviews, and then I won't pay attention to the rest of them. So overall, good match. The other part is I let them know, like, hey, here's kind of how I want to work on the deal, if there was going to be one. And I have a very specific way that I want to work with companies. I don't have to work with anyone, so I have a lot of leverage, and I could just say, well, here's what I want to do. Even though it's more expensive than what your budget is, I'm not negotiating. You came to me. I have the asset that you want to work with. So they were cool with it. They were like, hey, that's totally fine. And this is why they did the right thing. They were like, hey, that's cool. If you don't want to work with us, I'll send you a sample anyway. And, you could talk, like, they didn't even say to talk about it. They were just like, hey, we want you to check it out. And I'm talking about it. They didn't say to talk about it, but I was like, hey, I used it a couple times, and I was like, it's pretty cool. I don't know if I'll get more of it or whatever, or if we'll have like a relationship, but I mentioned it, so it worked, and it was because it was the right match, and they weren't pushing too hard. And going through some questions here, keep them coming. And just to highlight again, so Ayesha says, can we use Ezoic, Adsense, and Amazon affiliate on one site? The answer is you can. I would recommend, or do the research on this, work with your account manager at Ezoic, and just say, hey, I want to make sure I get AdSense going. It's through mediation, and it's integration that you need to do, and it should be fairly straightforward. And D says, can I share my view on niche validation? So this is a pretty good question. People wonder if it's a good niche or not. One of the biggest things is just to make sure there's some competitors out there. Make sure there's an audience that is interested in learning more, that has problems, that have problems. Make sure there's an audience out there that wants to consume the information. And that goes for YouTube, podcast, a blog, social media, like whatever. So make sure there's an audience out there. You can do competition analysis, which can be important, but more recently, I've been just encouraging people, don't worry about the competition so much. If you go and look, a lot of things will look really saturated, but you can compete in any niche. There are new people popping up in any given area all the time. Every day, every month or whatever, there's new, I don't want to use the word influencer, but there's new people starting their thing in competitive industries all the time. There's always room for more people, even if it seems extremely saturated, even if it feels like you're behind and you should have started it like 5 years ago. It's fine. You probably can still compete. The thing is, you need to be interested, maybe somewhat passionate about the topic area, so that you will be able to have some longevity, some consistency, motivation to keep working even when it's a little hard. So yeah, validate the niche, but as long as there's some competition out there, it probably means that you have a good chance of being in a market that is profitable. One easy way to do this is go to marketplaces like Empire Flippers, Flippa, some of the other brokers out there, and you can see like generally what industry they're in. And you could see like the traffic and the revenue and other details like that, which kind of validates the industry. Red Rose, do you think a 2022 blog still has a chance? So yes. Aisha says, what plugins do you use for designing content? Virtually none for designing content. I typically, one that I use for performance is called the YouTube Performance plugin by DIY Plugins. It does a good job. It doesn't do the normal embedding, which you can do, but that costs a lot of load time. There's a lot more pings and stuff like that, back and forth, a lot of server calls. So if you use a performance plugin, then it'll just load the thumbnail, and then once the user clicks on the thumbnail, then it'll load it. The thing is, only, I don't know, it's something like 10 or 15% of visitors actually watch the video. So if if you put a few videos on one page, you're costing yourself probably a couple seconds of load time. So as far as designing content, that's about it. And I think I've done a couple interviews with the people at Niche Website Builders, Mark and Adam. They have a pretty tight list of the plugins that they use. They build websites often, so they have like a very concise list. I think it's about 10 or 12 of them. Some of them related to security, some for SEO optimization, and some for other stuff. So good questions, and hopefully I'll get to the bottom here in a second. I'll just take a quick look. All right. Okay, cool. So as we're going through here, John says, have you ever divided the number of visitors by articles and see what the average you get per number of articles on a site? Not recently. I don't think that's a useful metric depending on what you're trying to do. So, and I'd be interested if other people have a recommendation here, but probably at some point in time I did divide that. But a lot of times you will see, depending on the site, you will see, certain articles just for some reason they do awesome. And it could be a number of things, Google likes it, the visitors like it, it's really well optimized or something like that. So oftentimes your data will be skewed. The other thing is the age of the article. So if you're publishing kind of, let's say your site's a little new and it's just coming out of the sandbox. Like if you're comparing that metric that you're creating there, number of visitors per article, if you're comparing that metric and you're not considering the age of the site or the age of the articles, and you're consistently publishing, then that kind of skews it in a different direction, depending on if you have old articles that you're updating or if it's mostly new articles. It also doesn't consider, a number of the other factors out there. Now, you could draw some assumptions by having that data, but I think there's so many other variables that it wouldn't necessarily be useful. But it could be, depending on what you're actually trying to do. Lewis says, do you think an info affiliate ratio is really something we should pay attention to, or does it automatically come? Does that come automatically with topical authority? Okay. So basically, Lewis is asking about the number of informational articles versus the number of affiliate review posts. So the reason why that's important is Google has been rolling out updates that are specifically targeted at affiliate review websites and affiliate reviews in general. So that means people are a little bit nervous about publishing too much affiliate content. So you're saying, is it something we should pay attention to? And I would say yes, definitely. Actually, there was a company that I started working with. It was a couple of years ago. And I sat down with the account manager and I was like, hey, I usually do, 50% info versus affiliate. And sometimes, now I'm leaning these days even, I'm like, you could do like 70 or 80% informational content if you wanted to, no problem there. And he was like, actually, I say do 100% affiliate content. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you serious? And he's like, yeah, like just go for it. Now, this was before all those updates rolled out. So I went with his idea. They were giving me, we were bartering services. So I was like, okay, let's try it out the way you say. That way I can really see how it works. And we did that for maybe a quarter. Yeah, like 3 months or so. And then I was like, all right, guys, you guys are fucking nuts. Let's swing it back. Now do all informational content and let's get this back to a reasonable ratio. And I believe that was just a couple months before Google started rolling out the review updates, the affiliate review update. The first one. Now a few has come through. So I would say, yes, you should certainly pay attention. I would, lean more on the informational content. Luckily, there's a lot of informational topics. And Lewis is sort of explaining further. For example, one affiliate article about bananas and many articles around eating bananas and different nutrients in bananas and how they work. So I don't know for example. Okay, yeah. So I would say, certainly lean more in the informational area. That's probably going to have more longevity. And if you go to sell the site, people will certainly view that as less risky. Whether that's valid or not, people will view it as less risky. Oh yeah, and more love for the Cody interview. It's the niche was revealed. He tells you your site or his site. He's making a lot of money within 4 months, which is bananas. And yeah, a couple other votes for that interview. If you have a chance, you don't have to do it, but if you have a chance, hop over there, leave a comment, ask Cody a question. I think he's probably in there, that sort of thing. So, all right, Prethal is here. What's up? Okay, Couch says, you just bought many related service domains and should ask this question before. Are directory service list sites still viable, or do most use Angie Home Advisors directly? Tons of links in the Wayback Machine. Oh, cool question. So the real answer, like most of my answers, unfortunately, I am not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't actually done much research. However, I do know that if I was looking for specific information, I would certainly consider looking at a directory site. And I think it would be valid, especially if you had like a blog that you were pulling in informational traffic, and then you had your directory section. And it could be even if you don't get much revenue from the directory portion, it's a great way to network with people in the industry. So let's say it's coffee shops. Let's say it's related to coffee shops. I hope that that's not one that you picked, but it could be like any industry really. But let's say it's coffee shops. There are whatever tens of thousands of coffee shops in the U.S. In North America. There are probably like whatever, I don't even know. So somebody look this up for me. How many coffee shops are there in the world? There could be like, I don't know, many hundreds of thousands, a few million. I don't know. They could be really small, but you could focus like sort of regionally. You could be like a real expert in the area where like if I was looking for like a coffee shop directory, I probably wouldn't go to like Angie's Home Advisors or whatever. Sometimes, depending on who's reviewing or whatever, the information may not really apply. So I would say yes, generally, that would work. But I don't know. I haven't done that. All right. John says, do you think a fictional persona for a niche site makes the site easier to sell in the future? Potentially, but it probably doesn't matter because they could just switch or, change the original section to, the original founder of this site is blah, blah, blah. Here's 3 bullet points. And then that's cool. And then the current owner of the site, here's how I got it. Here's why. They don't have to do that. They could just swap it out. But I don't think it matters too much. It's normal for businesses to sell to each other and move on, especially if it's a viable business model. So I don't think it matters too much. And I wouldn't put too much emphasis, and I wouldn't waste too much time thinking about it. Prithal says, I'm working on a niche for 2 years, 50 articles, started working on it seriously just recently. The problem is that Income School revealed the niche on their channel, and there are tons of similar sites ranking for that niche. What should be the approach? I'm ranking for a few keywords, 700 page views per month. All right. Well, that is, yeah. So they revealed the niche, and now there's a lot. Well, it turns out that happens a lot. You can actually look back and see, whenever Alex, my friend over at WP Eagle, he does a public site, and all of a sudden there's like more popcorn sites, more roof box sites. You look at my other friend Spencer Hawes at Niche Pursuits. He did like a survival knife site, and then a bunch of those popped up, and fill in the blank, right? Like this happens over and over again. So you have a couple choices. One, if it looks like a good enough niche and you have 2 years in, you have some traction. If you're into it, you can double down and try to do a better job than the competitors. Or you can quit and find another one. So usually, as time goes on, like there's more and more people interested. So you do have a 2-year head start. You're not getting a huge number of page views, but you're getting some. So it just depends on how much you want it and how much you want to do it. And, we usually talk about these niche sites, and you have info articles with display ads. You have your affiliate reviews, hopefully for some digital products. A lot of times it's just physical products. Amazon's usually the easiest to get started with, but really there's always going to be competition there. And if it's a profitable area, then even more people are going to be interested in it. And anything that you work on, you can work on something else. You can do drop shipping. You can do other sorts of e-commerce business models. You can do Kindle publishing. You can be, an agency. You can, be a freelance writer, a link builder. You can do YouTube. You can do anything. You can do anything you want. There's always competition. So you just have to figure out what work do you like to do, where you want to do it more than other people. There's a lot of lazy people. So just because there's a lot of competition, it doesn't mean that you can't compete. And there's other people just like you that make it work. And watch some of the interviews that I do. There's a wide span of people. So there's some professional folks. I talked to Melissa not too long ago, and she had a tech background. There was actually, this has been a while, but David the musician, this has been a few years ago, but he was doing super well. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but David was doing good. So there's like a really wide span of people with different skills that want to work on these sites. And some have much different backgrounds. Some are really similar to, hopefully you could find someone where you're like, I can see what they're doing. Like I can relate to that person. They have a similar background as me. So there's a wide range of people that I interview. You just have to like go back in the catalog. Like there's a shitload of them. So you may have to search for a little while, but there's also, like 7 years of interviews. So you may have to sort through it a bit, but you could find them for sure. And even if they're older stories, it doesn't matter. Largely the business model has stayed the same, and like the core, right? Some of the specifics of like link building and some other stuff have shifted, but the core ideas are exactly the same. And if you were doing things in a conservative way 5 years ago, you could do the same thing now. Okay, I got to go faster here. John says, burning question, if you were in a seasonal niche like snowmobiles, would you work on that year-round knowing traffic drops in the summer, or start additional sites not so seasonally focused? I would probably start another site that wasn't so seasonally focused, and don't let the other one, the snowmobile site, lag, or don't neglect it. That will eventually cost you. Your site will slowly decline, but you can certainly start a new one and take what you learned and apply that. Okay, we already hit that one. Misty says, can you explain mediation a bit more? So basically, the ads generally work. This is my basic understanding. Ads go through like an auction, like a real-time auctioning process when your site loads, and roughly something like that. And the mediation allows, at least on the Ezoic side, I'm pretty sure it works the same in other ad network software solutions. Basically, the Adsense auctions are inserted, so it makes it more competitive. So that's the general idea. You can go read more over on the Ezoic support information, maybe in the forum, but generally that's the idea. So it opens the market more. There's more bidders for that inventory of ad space. Alchemist Handbook, did the Google helpful content update make it harder to niche down? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. And Aisha asks about the plugin again. Which plugin now? YouTube Performance plugin, is that the one? I'm an affiliate for that. I think I probably have a link. If you go to nichesiteproject.com/resources, there's probably a link for it if you sort through there. And actually, here's a quick other request. If you want to sign up for my email list, there's all my free templates, all my free, there's tons of free information. A lot of people are. in fact, on the email list that are here. But I, send you several emails that are helpful, some of the, content that is most helpful for people. And I'll let you know when I release new podcasts and stuff like that. I actually need to start writing a bit more, but it's been a little busy here. And Fruitbat Cat says, which interview is that? So I interviewed Cody. He reveals his niche site that published yesterday. So you could, check out my videos section, the videos tab on my channel page, and you'll see that interview. And then I also interviewed Forrest, who's only, I think he said he was 23, and he's making, I can't remember how much, 25K, something like that per month. Grew really fast. And yeah, those interviews are hot off the press. Both are doing really well, and would appreciate it if you check them out. All right. Twalk 3, if you had to get to $1,000 per month as fast as possible, but had no budget for outsourcing content, what would your strategy be? So I'm going to assume that you're talking about a niche website. But if I had to get to $1,000 per month, just in general, I'll answer it a couple ways. I would get a job. Get a job. And then you should be able to clear more than $1,000 per month, probably not full time. And if you have a special skill, then you may be able to freelance and make that in a handful of hours. It should be fairly straightforward. As far as no budget for outsourcing content, and I had to get to $1,000, and you want it to be a content website, then I think everyone knows the answer. Well, you have to write the content. Yeah, if you can't hire anyone to do it, then you have to do it. And Aisha says, can you share the keyword research and niche research Excel templates with us? You got it. Go sign up for the email list. It'll be in the first email. There's a link. So you got to put your name and email address in there. And then you'll get an email that wants you to confirm. And then you'll have to click the button in there. And then you'll get an email, the first email. And it'll point you in the direction of the templates that you are asking for. And I've done a terrible job in the last several months just saying, hey, go sign up for the email list. But I'm telling you now, if you're not on my email list, go sign up for the email list. You can go to nichesiteproject.com, click the green button, and then you can put in your name and email and then follow the directions that I just said. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, anyone that'll listen. Oh, Gaz is here. What's going on? Daniel says directory sites are really good. You can build a lot of authority in that service and potentially more income streams. Cool. And L Couch says plumbing services listed are already there or for plumbers around the country. What the plumbing services listed are already there for plumbers around the country. Okay, cool. And then L Couch says, I wonder if there's a place to sell all domains at once as a lot. Yeah, I would probably turn to Facebook groups for that, since, you could just say, hey, here's what I want to sell. Here's the terms that I want. And then if there's anyone interested, then yeah, you could do it that way. Zach, what's up? Good to see you. And Misty Sunday has a reasonable alternative. You can a reasonable alternative for Twalk, and that is you can try to partner with someone and profit share and hire them. So the thing is, I wouldn't do that. I would trust my own writing over that, and you'll learn a lot by writing the content yourself. One of the big issues is, for me, if some people try to partner with me occasionally, and for me, there's virtually like no benefit. They're like, oh, I'll do all the writing, or, rewind. Like I want the control. I don't want to split it with anyone, and I want to make decisions on my own. So, it's up to you if you want to give up equity like that. And then it gets complicated too, right? It gets complicated, but you can partner with people on stuff. All right. Andrew, what's up? Andrew says, I'm looking to hire writers in the future. When you hire writers, do you let them know your site URL? Any reason to avoid it? Is it best practice to keep it private? I actually usually tell my writers what the site is. So typically, I'm not too worried about them taking my idea or the execution of it or anything like that. And, one of the reasons is usually when I find writers, they are, from Upwork, or recently I hired a writer who I think I'm going to probably bring on to do, a lot more stuff. She's a pretty good writer, but she doesn't know anything about SEO, any of the details or anything like that. So most writers, I think, generally don't know about this world that we're in here. Maybe they know some people with websites, but they don't really know too much further, right? So there are a lot of agency employees that actually know SEO really well, but they've never done the stuff that we're doing. They've never, created a site and then sold it for a lot of money. They've never, created a site and replaced their income or whatever. So there's even people with the SEO skills, like don't know some of the details. It's very interesting. Like people that have done SEO for like a decade, they still haven't put together their site. They're like, oh, I didn't know I could do affiliate marketing and it could be so lucrative. So there's a big disconnect in skills. So overall, I'm not too nervous. The other thing is often when I'm hiring a writer, like I know some people are asking about like the templates that I use and stuff. I'm usually doing something where I'm hiring a few writers or I have a lot of stuff going on, and like the sheer size of the project, the scope of what I'm doing, I think, not always, but I think most of the time overwhelms them. So they wouldn't have the budget for what I'm doing. They wouldn't have the budget to keep up, and they don't know the mechanics. So even if they kind of knew a few things, they wouldn't be able to like take what I'm doing and then run with it. So I would say it's up to you. Sometimes what I've done, Andrew, if you are a little bit nervous, is you can not let them know until you've worked with them for a while and say, hey, you know what? Do you want to actually just draft the content into WordPress here? And then, you can give them like author rights or editor rights or whatever is appropriate. And then you've built trust for a little while, and maybe showing them the site will give them more insight on the tone of the whole thing. All right, Sanjay says, what's the best way to monetize a news website in USA political niche? Probably ads, most likely. So the best way to figure this out is to go look at websites that are in the niche that you're thinking of being in and just see what they're doing. And that applies for affiliate marketing or ads or whatever. So if you're in the photography niche and you're like, oh, I wonder how I can monetize this, go look at 15 photography sites, see what courses are recommending, see what software. They're probably on, how do you say it? Adorama. I've only read it. Adorama, is that how they say it? B&H, that's easy. Amazon. So they're probably on like some normal stuff, but you could check out like what courses and software they're recommending. And most likely they have, some other stuff too for their informational content, probably ads. So yeah, if you don't know how to monetize something, go look and see how the successful sites are monetizing. And then most likely you can do that. All right. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to roll the ad in a second here, but we have Tony. Tony, what's going on? And good to see you. Tony, you sent me an email, but I was out of town. So I'm going to roll an ad really quick for my friends at Odys Global. So thanks to them, and I'll be right back and I'll talk about the weekend. Cool thing is, I think this is long enough. I'm going to go pee real quick. So I'll be right back. Word from our sponsor, Odys Global. That's ODYS.global, the source for premium age domains. And the featured domain for today is Design Divisions. And a fairly modest price here. I'll go into a bit of the history here, just a little bit. Looks like the website is, or the domain rather, is 18 years old. So created in 2004, domain rating of 21 and a domain authority of 21 as well. Of course, the power with these aged premium domains is the backlinks. This one has 128 referring domains and about 94 do follow, coming from some pretty big sites. Now, what was this site all about? Well, I went to the old Wayback Machine here, and it was basically educating people on permaculture. They had regular courses teaching people how to develop the perfect ecosystem in your garden or space. They delivered a certified permaculture design course. I don't know who certified it. And just for the people that don't know, like myself, I'm looking at the website, and this is a little snap from back August 25th, 2018. And on the website, it says permaculture. Like, what the heck is that? So if you're not sure what it means, you may have ideas about organic gardening, trees, transition towns. And they say permaculture is a way of connecting all these things and other things also. So covers a lot of ground, I would say. You could, of course, do a little bit deeper research. And basically, it's about putting things in their best place and creating beneficial connections between them. Permaculture gives us simple tools to create effective and sustainable designs that we can apply to everything we do. Still sounds pretty vague to me, but this domain could be perfect for you if you actually knew a little bit about permaculture, or even better, if you had a website already that was about permaculture. And basically, I think you could probably aim this at like gardening enthusiasts or other people that are interested in designing things outside their home. I just did this xeriscaping project where I removed a lot of the grass, a lot of the sod that takes up, it uses a lot of water. And I put in like cacti, I put in some succulents, some other plants that just don't need much water, plus a ton of gravel. So it's well draining. Most everything is going to grow there pretty well as long as it doesn't need too much water. So, that sort of thing would be perfect. You could probably like cross promote and make a lot of great connections with Instagram influencers, TikTok folks, YouTubers, other people that are not your direct competitors. You, of course, could have display ads on your website, great way to monetize informational content. For the affiliate side, you can find courses that exist out there already and then promote them as an affiliate. There are also companies that can help the permaculture ideals and that sort of thing. So you could actually provide some lead generation, or at least create a directory. I've mentioned this a few times, but you can create a directory around people that offer the services. And that way you have a way to connect to them. You potentially can get a backlink from them. You can sell ads in the directory area and that sort of thing. Some of the links come from ecologist.org, zdnet.com, google.com, permaculture.co.uk, veganorganic.net, and many, many more. So you can check it out over on Odys. If you follow my affiliate link, you can get $100 into your account. If you buy something, I might get a commission, which I greatly appreciate. And I encourage you to go check it out. If you buy a domain from Odys Global, they have the logo already designed, usually pretty cool ones like this one. So that's something you could check out. And let's get back to the show now. All right, we got a few more questions to get to here. If you have other questions, feel free to ask now. We have this one here from Abdel Kabar. If I'm not getting new ideas, can I research and write about other topics related to my blog's principal or topic or niches. Generally, yeah. So if it's related, that's okay. One way I like to think about it is if the same site, if the same visitor would be interested in that topic, then you could probably talk about it. It doesn't quite apply for what I do on YouTube, but you will notice that often I will publish things that I am just interested in, because that's how I decided that I would make this sustainable for me. So I decided that I wanted to publish travel vlog videos that don't fit. They don't get as many views. People don't care. But that's okay. Handful of you do watch, and it's not going to grow the channel, but it's like something that I'm interested in. And yeah, I could start another channel and publish them there to preserve the algorithm. But I decided I don't care that much. I'm gonna do this in a way that works for me, and I'm not gonna cater as much. And it costs business, right? It costs me money, but it's the way I want to do it, and it makes me happy. And it also allows me to, not take dumb bullshit sponsorships or anything like that in a weird way. Okay, and Fruit Bat Cat says, hit like people, he never says it enough. Yeah, I don't say it too often at all. We're doing pretty good. We got 23 today. Sonia says, is it okay to have a broad niche site, i.e. travel, and something relevant like food and coffee shops around the world? I would say, sure, that's probably okay. I would definitely try to establish the topical relevancy in a specific area first and like really try to hammer that down. Alternatively, you could do both in parallel, kind of like what I'm saying for YouTube, where, you're interested in travel and you are interested in food and coffee. Those do go hand in hand. A lot of people travel so that they can have, different foods, and wherever they go, they want to have like the coffee. Like for me, it would be like beer, that sort of thing. And then we have, let's see. Oh, Jason's on. What's up? And Moonam asked one of the best questions ever. Is SEO and affiliate marketing dead? No. So I could tell a quick story here as we finish up. I think Alex is going live, but maybe it's like later. It's like an hour from now, something like that, over at WP Eagle. So check that out for sure. Alex and Mark and Adam are going to do our niche lifestyle show tomorrow. So that's 8 a.m. Mountain Time. A little early for me. Please check it out. We're talking about something super interesting. Oh, what to not waste time on with your niche site. So I think a lot of people do waste time on various things. So we will talk about that. All right. Oh, one more question. Yochin says, on how many websites do you work? A handful. So I don't talk about my sites very much. I have thinned the herd in the recent years, so I don't have many. So it's less than 5. And I was never a big portfolio person, and I am often secretive and I don't say much because there are a lot of people with a shitload of time that will, they dedicate their time to messing with people. So I try to stay under the radar, and, it's great that Alex, he does his, public case studies and stuff. That is great. It definitely probably makes it harder for him. Niche Pursuits, he does, that's Spencer Oz. He's done public case studies over the years and, continues to, I think use them as, wonderful marketing tools and to prove the business model and like show a real example that people can go look at, which is hugely valuable. He has products that he sells. So it's a great way for him to monetize. It's like, oh, you can build these sites. And by the way, you can, use a link whisper to help internally link. And, it's great. So for me though, I try to keep everything sort of quiet. Jason says, if I recall, you did Toastmasters once upon a time. Did it help with your public speaking and presentation skills? Yes, very briefly. So back in 2020, I was supposed to speak at Google at the Ezoic, I forget the name of the conference that they did, but it was a fairly small one, only about 100 people or so. So I was supposed to go to New York, go to the Google office, speak at the Ezoic event. I hadn't done any public speaking and was not comfortable with it. I did have a presentation to present, but I wasn't used to standing in front of a crowd, maybe like 10 or 12 people, to do just a pretty informal discussion, but not a presentation where I'm doing the whole thing. So I went to maybe 2 in-person meetings for Toastmasters in my town here, Longmont. So I went to a couple meetings. I did one speech, a 7-minute speech or so, and it went well. I memorized the whole thing. It felt pretty good. I think just doing that, like going to the 2 meetings and then doing the one speech, helped a lot. When there's an audience in front of you and you know that they're evaluating and trying, I mean, it's very positive, and everyone wants you to do a good job. But I needed to actually stand in front of people and like do a presentation. They switched to Zoom, and I went to a few of those meetings, but I do this all the time. So me being on a Zoom call is not helpful at all. So I'm actually, they were about to kind of shut down the group because they didn't have very much participation. So I actually attended the meeting last week via Zoom or a couple weeks ago, and they're going to try to find a space to do some in-person sessions again, maybe half the time. And I will probably go back to that because I would get something out of standing in front of people, doing a prepared talk. A panel is really easy. You know, I won't get nervous even if it was a large crowd. I don't think that would bother me. I don't know for sure. I think maybe the largest group that I've been in front of is maybe like 60 people or so. And I did that at like a retreat called Camp Fi. So about 60 people. They did pay a lot of money to be there. So, I mean, like you need to do a good job. I prepared a lot and I practiced a lot, and I tried to make the slides engaging. I tried to be engaging with the audience and everything. So Toastmasters will help. I wish I would have done it when I was 20 years old or something like that. I wish I would have just started going and like got used to speaking and understand how to give a good talk. So highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. All right. And Yoshin says, I tried to manage many websites, but it never worked for me. Now I'm on 3 and that's just perfect. Yep. And I think a lot of people underestimate effort on almost everything. But yeah, on websites, people are like, oh, sure, I'll just do, 10 websites and it's really not too much. I'm going to outsource all the stuff. There's a lot of overhead for each one of the websites, even if it's not actual work and it's just mental bandwidth. It takes a lot of, just brain power. So subscribe to the channel if you're not. Definitely check out the niche website. No, what is it? Niche lifestyle show tomorrow that'll be on this channel. If you haven't subscribed to my podcast, subscribe to the podcast. There's a couple of them. One of them is kind of like this. We talk about affiliate marketing, SEO, side hustles, some other entrepreneur and productivity ideas. And then my other one is Mile High Fi. It is about personal finance and financial independence. So hopefully you don't have to keep working and you have leverage and you have options. And if one day your boss pisses you off, then you could just leave. Say, you got 2 weeks left. That's it. All right. I think that's it for today. And if you're not on the email list, check out the email list. Oh, and if you want to do me a favor, I know there's some nice people who are in the chat saying, hey, hit the like button, do that stuff. If you go to either one of my podcasts or both for extra credit and leave a review on Apple Podcasts / iTunes, that's awesome. Leave a little review. Don't just rate it, but like leave a little review in there. That's fantastic. That would be wonderful. Subscribe to it, download a handful of the episodes, but that is a very helpful thing. So now I'm going to play guitar for a minute. I know a couple people like this. If you don't like guitar, that's okay. I usually only play for like 1 minute or less. And I was out of town. Oh, I never even told the out of town story. So I guess I can do that for a second. Hold on. Yeah, so I went to a conference called FinCon, which is very fun. It's a very fun conference. There are about, I don't know, I think there were 1,800 people, something like that. And it's for financial creators. So it used to be the Financial Bloggers Conference, but it now includes, podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, bloggers, YouTube, like anyone creating content around finances. So I have the Mile High Fi blog, and it turns out there's a lot of like overlapping interests with, side hustles and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of just financially independent retired people that I know. And a lot of those people go to that conference. So it's fun. It's a blast. There is a lot of talk about, money, but usually that's not what we end up talking about. Usually it's like everything else. So it's a lot of fun. Last year, I almost lost my voice, and then pretty sure I got COVID at the conference last year in Texas. But yeah, this year tested negative. It's all good to go. I met Josie. One cool thing is I also met Chelsea Clark in person. She's over at blogsforsale.co. She actually joined me to record a short podcast episode, which will come out in probably a couple weeks here. So you can keep an eye out for that. And hopefully Josie will join me for a podcast interview as well. I'm not sure if she's still on. But yeah, I met a handful of people in person, and then there were other folks. Like the cool thing is there is an overlap, and I talk about, keyword research and SEO. So if someone has a website, typically they have some interest in those topics. So there were a handful of people that were like, I think I've seen your YouTube channel before, but they didn't know who I was, which is good. You don't actually want to be recognizable. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Okay. I just noodled around for a second on the guitar. I feel like I was playing something cool earlier, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe a little out of tune. All right, that's it for this week. And yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow morning.